I like this. I hope Noob's still in the chat. He was here earlier this morning. I'm digging what Noob's putting down, man. Here we got a game our kids can enjoy. Noobifier's throwing some heat down. And I'm curious. I want to see what Noob's got to say.
I do videos like this once every 2 years or so. So welcome. Hello YouTubers, this is Noobifier. Before we begin, let me talk about what my goal is with this one. The subject could be interpreted as an attack on the company, but it's not. It's actually the opposite. What I would like to explore is the best way to get the game released soonest, but soon requires the definition of what the minimum viable product is. So let's define that. I have said in the past that I consider myself to be Star Citizen's #1 fan. I have noticed my excitement might have gone from what's coming out next week on Around the Verse to Chris Roberts' monthly report to what's coming out next year at CitizenCon to knowing what we're being shown.
Totally. I understand the progression. I get what he's going through. I get what's happening. I get that.
3 or more years in the future. I'm still excited, but that excitement is measured differently. It's measured in larger chunks of time than it was before. We just got a new ship, and we got some tier 0 mechanics and a small upgrade. These are no longer seen as super important to me. Not seen as super important to the game or its release specifically. It adds nothing to what I feel is the minimum viable product, and therefore one could say that these additions bring us no closer to release. It's just another incomplete ship in an incomplete universe that needs to be wiped again. When we watched the demo of the first jump point at CitizenCon keynote in...
Which is why I refuse to buy any concept ships. I mean, that's the whole reason why I don't really buy them. I don't want to support that type of development. I understand it's necessary. I'm not saying not to buy concept ship sales, but the exact reasoning behind how Noob cited all that is the reason I really don't get into buying concept ships anymore. Also, though, we are having a Liberator giveaway brought to us by St. Grizz. Hallowed be his name. Can I get an amen for St. Grizz? Yes, sir. The Liberator giveaway. I'm going to try and going to try and put that video out next week. Would like to thank St. Grizz for that. That is a concept sale. I did not purchase it. Grizz did. And bless him for doing that.
In 2018, we were shown real progress. The crowd was correct to go nuts with excitement, and that was seen at the time as a real turning point.
That's a Canadian thing, isn't it? To say progress like progress. That's interesting.
Pyro would be just around the corner. There it is on the screen. That's why they would be showing it to us, right? It can't just be another BS marketing tactic because there it is on the screen. Next year was 2019, Theaters of War, there it is, the next new thing. It's playable, it must be close to release, another real turning point, and another demonstration of real progress. I think that this type of hype might be good in short term to sell ships, but I don't think that these were specifically orchestrated to mislead either. I am very sure that priorities changed as things went down different pipelines. It's a contributing factor, however, to what I spoke about. It's an example of what may have changed my release expectations. How it went from being just around the corner to being another feature that I know may not be there for 10 or more years. CitizenCon must be viewed with the beer goggles off, and there must be a constant process of not falling blindly for what you're being told. The true game being played is you risk telling the community your true timeline. If the people know the truth, would they be put off and would they stop supporting? I have found that reporting on Star Citizen year to year has become a little bit like putting a band-aid over a gunshot wound. You're doing fine for the short term, but you always know that eventually someone's going to need to get in there and fix the real problem, or the internal injury will kill you. Is the project dead or dying? Absolutely not. No, and there are a huge number of active backers who continue to play and pay. This year's trend is an indication of a good, healthy project. So if things are so good, you may be asking me why I feel defining the minimum viable product is what we need right now. Why would CIG risk defining this? Could it not fully backfire if the truth is known? The community has accepted going from missing deadlines on a roadmap to...
Yeah, and these roadmap videos, I don't know how he keeps doing these things seriously. Like I don't even view the roadmap as something tangible. Like, you know, like it's like on a whiteboard at SIG that constantly gets wiped and changed. It gives me an idea somewhat of what's going to happen, but I don't take it verbatim anymore because it feels like I'm pounding my head against the wall when I take it verbatim. Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
To never committing to any deadlines. No deadlines can ever be missed if there aren't any.
Here's the thing. At least we can see it. Fingers has a really good point. You know, like they are transparent to the point where they are showing us what it is or what areas they would like to get into. And that's it. And that's all it should be there for, Fingers, right, dude? Like, I totally understand. As Fingers and I have the same viewpoint about the roadmap. It's like, here's what's on the whiteboard. We're being transparent. As Cloud Imperium and Chris and all the devs, we're letting you know what's going on. Because let's be real here. There are a lot of developers out there that don't take that step, that don't even bother to tell you. You know?
Right? Fuck. Jokes aside, we back a small game project built on transparency that is unwilling to provide deadlines. There was an underestimation of the total task in the early days, compounded by a growing scope. So I ask, if we can't have a deadline, then can we at least put everything into two categories? Features and tech that are needed for a minimum release, and features and tech that can be added later. They, the company, had spent a year building a
Dude, I've grown to love Noob, man. I've literally grown to love Noob.
Progress tracker to satisfy our desire for transparency. I see that as the company's genuine effort to define the work ahead. But we can look at the distant past to see or get an indication of where we might be going. Let's explore this. Star Citizen and Elite Dangerous were announced around the same time. In the most basic terms, they were similar games with a completely different release plan.
Yes.
ED would achieve a basic core in a year and then release small and then iterate. And Star Citizen would simply achieve release. That's literally what we were told. Star Citizen backers were told some stuff, and many of us decided to pay money to see if that could happen. Somewhere around 2015, as these goals continued to stretch, the community was...
Listen, Chris is a dream guy. Chris is an idea man, right? He's not so great at organizing things in terms of the professional kind of... management side of things as a CEO. He's a creator. He's an imagination type dude, and he tries his best, and he fumbles around, and he trips, and he's a human being, and you know, he's not necessarily great at execution. I think we can all kind of agree on that, right? And we have just been following around as there's been stumbles and back steps, and you know, like that's the thing. Still though, we see progress. Still though, we come back to it. You know, Aether says, if the entire progress is based being completely new and never done before, how are they going to categorize which parts can be added after release? This idea doesn't make sense. I think Noob is losing patience. Listen, to ask for a minimum viable product is not out of the question, right? I mean, let's take it in the financial world, right? If you're a shareholder and you're owning a corporation, you kind of want to know where they're going, right? The roadmap, if you will, of the company, right? And that roadmap does change, right? But there's consequences when it's time to own up and show us what's on the balance sheet. How are earnings? What was revenue growth, right? You have these metrics. I was one of the very first Star Citizen content creators to get into the financials. Okay, some people would say it's boring. I thought it was essential. I thought it was necessary to talk about financials. A couple years back, I was the only guy covering financials. Nobody else wanted to dabble in it, right? And I was saying for over a year how they need to be transparent on the American side of the business. Because all of it's public over in England. You can see that information. It's all public. That's how they run things over there. In the States, since it's a privately owned company, they don't have to release it. And I was saying, show us the books. Let us see the numbers. And eventually they did. They opened it up for us to look at, which made me feel like there was a level of accountability. But along with that, they need to at least give us, like, what is the minimum viable product, right? And when will it be here? Any other corporation, if you're a shareholder, would be put to the same tenement. They would have to show what it is that they're up to. I actually think this is one of the biggest disconnects with a lot of the supporters, is they're looking for that. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's something that has some credibility to it.
Asked if we wanted the goals to stop and release what was pitched, or if we would let Chris fully realize our dream game. We were told that adding more parts would add time and delay the release, and apparently the community.
But I will say, on the flip side of the coin, it's like they are trying to do something that has also never been done before, right? So there is that to it.
Greenlit adding more. I don't remember being personally asked in 2015, and I don't think it matters because at the time, I would have probably said yes anyways. Yeah, Chris, you do you, boo. Make your game the way and as crazy as you want. Knowing that we would be looking off into 2023, still undefined project, still unreleased Squadron 42. No, I feel at that time I would have tapped out. I would have asked for some sort of yardstick. I would have said, let's work on that minimum viable release while dreaming about the future. I know and appreciate that it's not so simple, and I'm heavily generalizing as an armchair backer. You'd be correct to tell me that I'm not considering.
He's talking about the presentation, how the content comes out. Like, first off, I'm giving applause to SIG for the fact that the content's coming out. Let's just give them applause. Let's give them credit for credit's due. At least they're transparent to the point where we can somewhat follow along, right?
How interwoven and codependent these features are. So I will acknowledge, yes, I'm actually aware that physicalized damage needs physicalized components, and that system would need a complete gold standard pass for all the ships, which is waiting for the completion of all of the other supporting subsystems. I do appreciate all of the complexity, but a more general definition might help the subject. We have planets, we have rivers, caves, and clouds. We also want planets with outposts that have interiors. Adding mission caves, this new tech will also allow buildings on ArcCorp with interiors. And I'm happy that they're adding this. It's important and it's a key feature that we're expecting. But could all of this been on the add later? What side of the list is Subsumption on? Subsumption is the entire game with law, bounty, economy, trade, and missions. All of that is core to what we need in the game. Can this all be faked now, released, and then baked in later?
Every time I see Tony, I get enraged. I just want to hear about quanta. I want to hear about the economy. I want to hear where they're at. Like I need to hear more from Tony. Tony, I'm giving you a shame bell, Tony. Tony, I'm giving you a shame bell right now. Just shame Tony.
Shame.
Tony and Chris need to show up
Shame.
more. I have to say,
Shame.
Tony and Chris need to show up a lot more this year.
It's already faked now, and yet we're playing it. Now, we fell into this trap where Squadron 42 and PU share tech. Squadron is basically a vertical slice of the PU, which is good news because in theory, Squadron will release and many of the core PU systems will be finished. As creep crept into the PU, Squadron becomes more and more complicated, and yeah, that also gets pushed back as well. There is a point. We know that there will be a soft launch. We know that there are core mechanics that are being worked on. And I guess what I'm asking is, are there some features that we can simply park and add later? We already know that we won't release with 100 systems. Would you be okay with releasing only the Stanton system? How about 2, Stanton and Pyro? Can the jump be a faked loading screen initially, or do we actually need to have a fully realized jump point tech at release? We already know that they're planning all sorts of lore and missions, but would you be okay with releasing on a couple? We already know that they're planning base building, land ownership, and player-owned buildings. So would you be okay with releasing without that? Is it okay to get the game core stable? Is it okay to get persistence and some form of sharded mesh complete? Would it be okay to get that done, take a pause to polish, and test things? Push the patch to beta release, test and polish some more, and then just release without adding any more stuff. With release, now your grind actually matters, your reputation actually matters, and this is where your insurance time counts down like it's supposed to. It's a real game with a promise of a rich future of new features. And now you're getting ready to type something really nasty in the comments, but here's the alternative. We continue to build the core like what's being done. Everything. We continue to inject more deliverables on the road towards completion. The list is as follows. Fully fleshing out mining, salvage, and fuel. Real hangars, warehouses, cargo timers, but also manually loading and unloading cargo. A full implementation of subsumption-based economy with subsumption-based trade with NPCs who move cargo around to offset our effect. We will realize the 10-to-1 society of off-the-rails NPCs who live and act like real players. Player ownership of land, apartments, warehouses, hangars, shops, and production facilities. Player-owned outposts and/or player construction of said outposts from a ship that's currently a drone, either as a paid service or for personal use.
I love them.
Reputation, law.
Boom, 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 boom. Fact. Like, I just love it. It's like watching an M50 go off, man. It's crazy. It's so great.
Bounty and criminality. All complete to include gameplay for snare, search, interdiction, being arrested, being tried in court, fines, and prison. Looting, gathering, crafting, building weapons and armor. Players tuning engine and ship components to improve their yield. Large and small ship system management.
I love that he put this together in 3 minutes. Can we just get some applause for this brain here? Here's a couple of things I randomly put together in 3 minutes for everybody.
And at that Scotty level, like the engineer, ship breaching, boarding, and hacking. Large and small ship components and repair, farming, and all of the stuff that goes with that.
Constant.
Fishing by the river, camping by the river, ships that can connect together to form a large repair platform, modularity, ship-based tractors, fire, rooms, air and firefighting, environments with toxic or radioactive effects, sickness, long-lasting player wear.
All right, you're just flexing like mad right now, noob. Come on, dude. Like, this is crazy. 3 minutes. Ba, 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 ba. Here's another one. There's another one, man. I love him.
Placement limbs, scars, tattoos, pets, the hex code pate system, night vision, finishing the ship naming system, finishing the ship flight performance, physicalized damage, physicalized components, the release of a 6-year backlog on concept ships, fully physicalized planetary orbits with day-night cycles, physicalized weather, VIP game loops for both NPCs and players, media and reporting loops with in-game broadcasting, data running complete with espionage.
All right, I figured it out. Chris needs to hire Noobifier. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Like, can we get Noobifier to be the taskmaster? Noob, please apply, dude. Please apply. This is exactly the organizational things that I want to see happen in Cloud Imperium. Man, go over there and get hired already. Don't even just show up for work. Noob, don't even apply. Just take the job. Go there. You're in Canada. Go to Turbulent, dude. Just show up, man. Just show up, sit down, and give them the list and get to work, man. That's all that needs to happen, dude. It's magic. It would literally be magic. Can somebody please tell our friend Noob to just show up at Turbulent and just be like, okay, here's my list. I just put this together in 3 minutes, everybody. Now, everybody sit down. Fully fleshing out mining, salvage, and fuel. Real hangars, warehouses, cargo timers. I thought about this in 3 minutes. Everybody get to work. Everybody get
Interception, sale on the black market. The black market with theft and trade of stolen goods, exploration, including the sale of scanned data, wormhole jump points, including scanning drones and charting stable and unstable conduits with a ship.
3 minutes.
Mining, including mining drones, and all of the other changes that they're making right now. And then, of course, refueling and rearming, which includes their drones as well. And that is an incomplete list. You may see why, perhaps in the absence of a deadline, the imagination wanders and you're left with a bleak assessment that the game isn't being built for us. It's being built for our kids. Jokes aside, is it really that wrong to want to map out the release and the future? We've all been told so much about the idea of a soft launch. We all know that it's coming. I'm also fine with the explanation that we're just noisy and we can't be trusted with deadlines. at least tell us the basic triage of the codependent tasks, even if it had no dates. I would still like some indication as to what the company sees as pre- or post-release features. Can I eventually tell people that the game is released and then be excited to play knowing that more content will be added in the future? This idea is nothing revolutionary. Many games release like this, and yes, there is a problem where the game release is busted, killing public opinion. I'm not proposing that we rush. I just want something beyond what we have. Right now, it just seems like there are 20 years of...
Listen, he's a very organized individual. I do see comments in here, and I do understand what you guys are saying, and I do agree with what you guys are saying. You're saying, hey, listen, the things that are happening here in the terms of the tech haven't really been done before. So there are elements to some roads or pillars, as we would say, that are very important, like meshing, right? These things need to be tested. Now, we watched a video from 10 Pound 42 explaining meshing, where they're at, and pyro coming out, maybe the cart before the horse. We've already watched that video. It's a wonderful video. And this is where, you know, our chat, we're coming from that video pretty fresh, and they're watching this, and they're saying, hey, Noob, like, you know, there are areas here where, you know, possibly we're not able to map it out like you want it mapped out. But I will say this. Noobifier needs to walk into Turbulent. He needs to be like sitting down, and he needs to give him a list like this. Like like there does need to be this level of execution. I'm not quite sure. It might be happening at Cloud Imperium, but as a fan, as a backer, as somebody very interested in this project for 10 plus years, you can understand where Noob is coming from and why he wants the minimum viable product, right? But Noob just needs to go in and execute. That's how I feel.
Of stuff left to be added, and I'm worried that this is not a sustainable way to deal with the subject. I posted a poll to check that I wasn't just blowing stuff out of proportion. I wanted to see if I was crazy or not, and as it turns out, my interpretation of the release timeline isn't as uncommon as I thought. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. The video was purposefully designed to generate conversation and discussion. It's not a rant or negativity towards the company or the talented people that are making our game. We're smarter together. Please comment your comments in the comments. Be as detailed or general as you like, and I'm perfectly fine that you tell me that I'm wrong, because I look forward to your insight. We're on the verge of 318, a big patch. And I know with that, we are about to embark on another epic road to a next milestone.
It is a way of thinking in a very logical step-to-step order, right, Hormy? Like the way Noobifier thinks, this is why I respect the man, because my brain doesn't necessarily work like Noobifier's, right? It's like, I would say I'm much more of a creative type dude with a crazy imagination that likes to make something from nothing. And the process of making something from nothing is very, very, very messy. And it is very hard at times being like this to map it all out ahead of time. It can be done, but it's done in a way that is messy. At least for my brain type, okay? And that's kind of what we're seeing here in the chat right now, the discussions that we're seeing. And you have to find a way to mesh that together. You have to find a way to mesh a DG360 and a Noobifier together so that it's functioning. And we've done that now. Go to Noobifier's channel. Totally dig this. Love the way he thinks. And he should just work for them and execute.